One of the big opportunities for online resellers and people who want to build reselling businesses and make money online is Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is relatively new. It's Facebook's version of an eBay or a Craigslist where you can essentially sell the things that you have lying around in your home. But recently, Facebook Marketplace has become much more desirable for people who want to build actual reselling businesses. It's not just a place where you're going to put, some toys that you have lying around the house that you don't need anymore. It is becoming a viable, legitimate place for online resellers and e-commerce experts to go to sell things with shipping options and feed import options and all these sort of different things that Facebook are doing. It is very different than selling on eBay. It is very different than selling on Amazon or Walmart or anywhere else that we talk about on this channel. Facebook Marketplace needs a different set of skills. And so in this video, I want to break down 5 different tips for selling on Facebook Marketplace effectively. And real quick, before we jump in, if you could just hit the like button below, that would be such a huge help to us. It really helps the video to reach new people, and we really appreciate that. So thank you to everyone for hitting that like button. So let's jump in, let's kick right off. And number 1 is be patient. Now, Facebook Marketplace is a place where buyers and sellers can talk to each other, and buyers can hit up the sellers and ask questions and inquire about the items. And Facebook have made it really easy for buyers to actually send those initial kickoff communications. They've pre-filled questions about the item. The buyer just has to click send. They don't even need to type things in for the most part. And it's very easy and quick for a potential buyer or someone who's just browsing Facebook Marketplace to actually message the seller. Now, what does that mean for us as sellers? It means that you're going to get a lot of messages. It means that you're going to get messages from people who, to be honest, are not really serious buyers. In some cases, they're just, they're browsing and they're just killing some time, and they click, let's inquire about this item. You're going to get questions, generic questions like, is this still available? And anyone who's watching this who's sold on Facebook before, you probably dread that little message, is this still available? Because that's a generic message that Facebook have pre-filled in. The buyers can just click and it will send. And, a lot of sellers are kind of frustrated by that, because if it's still available, my listing is still there. And, if my listing is there, then it's still available. If I sell the item, I'll take my listing down. So why are you asking if it's still available? Well, you need to develop patience for these things, because at the end of the day, this is not going to go away. Facebook want to make it really easy for buyers and sellers to connect, and the platform is entirely built on that connection and that communication. And so, you need to kind of develop thick skin around fielding those questions and those questions about price, those questions about availability, those questions about the item themselves. And then a second element when it comes to the patience that you're going to need to have is, some people are going to lowball you, right? You're going to have lowball offers. People are going to see your price that's set at $100 and they're going to offer you $40. That's the nature of the game on Facebook, unfortunately. So you don't have ways or you don't have tools to cancel those things out like you do on eBay, at least not when we're recording this video. On eBay, you can say, I don't want to accept any offers below a certain price. On Facebook, people are going to message you with crazy lowball offers, stupid questions, generic messages, and it's the nature of the game. So the patience is, it's crucial. And if you get frustrated by these messages, then Facebook may not be for you. So that's the first thing that I will say about selling on Facebook. Now, the next tip that I want to give is to use friendly language when you're creating your listing and when you're talking to potential buyers. Facebook, another big difference between Facebook Marketplace and eBay or Amazon or Poshmark or Mercari is that Facebook Marketplace is entirely built on that communication between the buyer and seller. And there's much less focus on feedback scores, right? So on eBay, if you're buying something from someone, you're going to look at their feedback score, you're going to look at their past transactions, you're going to make a judgment about how trustworthy the seller is because of their feedback scores. And on Amazon, You have natural trust. A lot of buyers have natural trust because they feel like they're protected by Amazon. If the seller doesn't fulfill their promise and send them the item, Amazon will refund the buyer. You have a degree of protection from Amazon. On Facebook, you don't really have that, right? If you buy something from someone and they don't turn out to be legitimate, or they send you a counterfeit item, or they just take your money and run away, you're not really protected, right? And so there is a different level of trust that's needed for a buyer on Facebook. You have to know about this as a seller. You need to understand this, in that if you're trying to sell something on Facebook Marketplace, you need to be trustworthy in the buyer's eyes. And how can you be trustworthy when they don't have the same level of protection, and they don't have the same level of history and feedback scores and stuff that you might have on your eBay account? Facebook does have a feedback system, but it's just, Facebook is so new, or Facebook Marketplace and selling on there is so new. A lot of you may not have, a large feedback score to fall back on. So it's crucial then to use friendly language and try to come across as a trustworthy person, because that is really the only way that you can convince the buyer that you're not going to send them something counterfeit. You're not going to screw them over, right? At the end of the day, you're going to fulfill your end of the bargain. And by using friendly language in your listing, showing them that you care about, the thing that they're looking for, or the perspective that they have, using friendly language when you're talking to the buyer. If you meet them for a transaction, be friendly when they arrive. Be approachable. If you arrive and you're meeting someone out in the wild and you're doing a transaction, and you seem unapproachable or shady in any way, they are within their right to get back in their car and get out of there. So you need to remember these things, and remember that for commerce to happen, and for a buyer and seller to make a deal, there needs to be trust in on both sides. And so the best way to do that is just be approachable and be friendly and use friendly language. So the third tip for selling on Facebook Marketplace is be ready to haggle, and maybe even investigate different ways of negotiation. Facebook, again, coming back to the fact that it is communication between buyer and seller, it is a place where you're always going to get people trying to negotiate the price. It's fully expected when I list something on Facebook that I'm going to get messages that are trying to negotiate that price. When the offer is too much of a lowball, I can ignore it, but I still need to be ready for reasonable offers to show up. And I need to be ready with, on how to deal with those offers. So, if you are very firm on your price, I personally believe that it's worth raising it just a little bit on Facebook when you put the listing in, and then pretending that you're willing to negotiate a little bit, because if the buyer reaches out to you and offers a lower price, maybe they're going to offer you what you're actually willing to take, because you raised it a little bit when you put the listing in. And so then you'll get the price that you're looking for, and the buyer will feel like you at least negotiated a little bit and were willing to kind of come to an agreement with them. And so everyone will leave the deal happy and feel like they kind of came out and they benefited in some way. So that's if you're firm on price. And if you're willing to negotiate a little bit on price, then a good thing to do would be to learn what's the best way to approach that. Again, remember tip number 2 about being friendly and using friendly language even when you're negotiating a price. But definitely do some research on what's the best way to negotiate a price. Be ready to walk away. This is negotiation tip 101. You got to be ready to walk away. You can't seem desperate to the buyer. You need to be ready to close the chat window, tell them this is your last offer, and walk away, and trust that someone else will come along and someone else will buy it. And in some cases, that same buyer will message you again a couple of hours later, because they'll see that you're actually ready to walk away and you're not desperate. And so that is crucial for negotiating. But in general, be ready to negotiate and have a game plan in mind for how you're going to tackle that. With Facebook, it is going to happen. It's one of the things that you can definitely depend on as you're selling on Facebook Marketplace. Okay, so tip number 4 for selling on Facebook Marketplace is your photographs. This is crucial stuff, right? So the fact that Facebook Marketplace is used a lot for people who, they're not resellers, they're just kind of like spring cleaning their home and they're listing stuff for sale. What ends up happening is that a lot of the listings that you see on Facebook and that other buyers see on Facebook are not very professional looking. A lot of the photographs are taken, in a cluttered living room, on, a smartphone with not good lighting, and, other stuff in the frame. And, it's kind of they're unprofessional listings, right? Unprofessional photographs. And that's just the nature of Facebook Marketplace, because it's a place where everyone will go to sell things, and it's not all businesses, not all resellers. So a way to stand out amongst the crowd then is to do a little bit better than that, right? And since when you're browsing Facebook, the thing that you really see is the photograph, right? Everybody just sees photos that's just the way it works when you're searching and when you're browsing. It's photo after photo after photo and just a very small title. You got to make sure that that photo pops and that that photo stands out amongst the crowd. So if you make it a little bit better than the other ones that are out there, you will stand out. People will click your listing. So the way to do that is, a couple of quick product photography tips. And these are not things like, get a light box and take professional photos. This is just, you can still do quick photographs and quick listings on your phone, but just pay attention to a couple of very, very minor details. So for example, number one, make sure there's nothing else in the frame, right? So don't shoot a Lego set next to, a canned drink or some other toy. Like, take the item that you're shooting, that you're taking a photo of, and put it somewhere where there's nothing else in the frame. Okay, that's number one. That's the first thing. And that sounds basic. A lot of people don't do that. Number two is to fill the frame with the item. And by frame, I mean what you can see when you're about to take a photo. You're holding your phone up, pointing it at the item, and what you see on the screen there is what you're framing for the photograph. Fill that frame with the item, and what usually is meant by that is get closer to the item, so the item is taking up the entire frame of the photograph you're taking. That just makes things look better, and it gives the buyer more kind of a view of the item. They can see imperfections a little bit better. They can read the text on the box and stuff like that. It just creates a much better photograph if you fill the frame with the item. For product photography in general, just get closer to the item, and it makes a huge difference. And then, bring the angle down to kind of level with the item and just get right up to it. That'll make a huge difference for your photographs as well, for your Facebook listings. Thirdly, you can use a contrasting background for the photograph. So put the item on a dark background if it's a light colored item, or on a light background if it's a dark colored item. That just makes the item stand out and it makes it pop. You don't need a white background like you will see, professional product photographers using. That would be great if you have a way to do that quickly, but it's not fully necessary. You could shoot it on the floor, right? But just do it in a way that, it contrasts. So if your item is green, don't take the photo on a green rug, right? It's got to stand out from the background. And then some other quick minor tips for your product photography. Use natural light, so open the blinds and get the item right close to the window so you have natural light coming in. Natural light looks a lot better than lamp light or artificial light. That will make things look a lot better in your photograph. And then, this one will sound very obvious, but just hold your phone steady when you're taking the photo. So many photos on Facebook are blurry. You don't want a blurry listing photo when you're trying to rise above, the competition and have your item pop on the results page when someone searches for it. Just hold your phone steady and try and get a crisp, sharp image, and you'll do so much better than other people. And that's it. That's really all there is to it. It's just focusing on little things to make your photos look a lot better. And then, the other thing I would say is take more than one photo. Take photos of imperfections. If there's dings on the corner of a box, something got a little bit of shelf wear, take photos of that stuff, right? Because it'll actually save you a lot of time and effort, because people are going to ask you about, is there any imperfections? Is something broken on the item? Is there a problem with it? If you've got photos of all of that stuff, it'll take you an extra 5 seconds to do that, to take an extra couple of quick snaps of the item from different angles and catch, a couple of little imperfections. And then if anyone asks you questions, you can just respond with "see photos," or in the listing you can write imperfections on the box, see photos for details. And it'll save you all of that, having to explain it to people. And also it just helps, to remove any ambiguity for the buyer, right? They know exactly what they're buying. And it can also just help, it can help persuade people to buy as well, because let's say you're selling a set and you take, there's some cool artwork on the back, right? Or you're selling a book or something like that, and there's cool artwork on the back. Adding that into your photo, to your listing by taking, different angles of photographs could help to actually sell the item, because people can, as they're looking at the items, they can be like, yes, I definitely want to buy this. So take multiple photographs. It's a very simple thing. It will not take you too much time, and it will help you to make your listings look a lot more professional, and it will help you to make sales. So that's it for photographs, and that one is a big one when it comes to Facebook Marketplace, so definitely don't snooze on that. Now, tip number 5, and this is the last one we'll talk about, and this is a little bit different, I think. This doesn't come down to how you list your items or how you communicate with buyers. This is what happens, when you're actually making a sale and afterwards. This is to look for networking opportunities, right? So Facebook, again, it comes down to the differences between Facebook and eBay and Amazon in terms of how you communicate with buyers. The fact that there is free communication, right, between buyers and sellers on Facebook, and you're just messaging back and forth, it means that, you've got an opportunity now to network with your buyers. What do I mean by that, right? Is you can build up a network of people who may buy from you again in the future, right? When you're actually communicating with someone, and if they're interested in buying Lego and you are a Lego reseller, you can ask them, would you be interested in seeing stuff that I have for sale in the future, right? Very simple question. If they say yes, you can say, okay, do you want to exchange communication? Do you want to give me an email address or a phone number? And there you go, right? You've got someone who is a potential future customer, right? Based on a sale that you're making right now. So there you go. You've got a potential future buyer based on a current buyer, right? So you're communicating, you're building this network with someone who may buy from you again in the future. Rinse and repeat and do this again and again, and you can build up a very big network of people in your area who may be looking for the things that you're selling. And then what you can do is you can sell things instantly, right? You have a listing and you send it around to your network of potential buyers, and you might sell it immediately. You don't have to wait for anyone. And then also, maybe you'll find ways of sourcing products, right, from this network. So you never know what benefits you might get. Maybe you'll find someone who can lead you to some cheaper supplies. Maybe someone can get you, shipping boxes at a discount. Who knows what may come from building your network. That's the beautiful thing about building networks, is that you can meet people who can you can leverage their skills in different ways. They can leverage your skills in different ways, and it can turn into a great business relationship. And Facebook Marketplace, when you're communicating with buyers, it gives you that opportunity. So you could, carry business cards around with you and give one to every buyer. You could build a website and give the URL to buyers. There's different ways you can approach it, but use that opportunity that Facebook Marketplace gives you, because it's different on Amazon. On Amazon, you can't really do this, right? It's much more anonymous transaction. And so that's the last tip we'll talk about here. It is a bit more advanced, and it is when you start to build more transactions and kind of some momentum on Facebook that you will start to turn your attention to these things. But networking is such a huge opportunity on Facebook Marketplace when you're selling things there. So that's it. That's 5 big tips for selling on Facebook Marketplace. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please smash that like button. It really does help us to get the video out to other people, and we really, really appreciate that. If you have any other tips for Facebook Marketplace, let us know in the comments. We'll definitely read every comment that is dropped below. So please go ahead and do that. Once again, I'm Shane from brickbucks.net. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.